Don't know any names. Don't really care to.
Yeah.
But there was a couple in Florida, I think.
Multiple car
always
babies?
fucking Florida. What?
Multiple babies?
No.
Oh.
No, a couple.
Oh, okay. A couple of adults with a baby.
Adult couple.
Yeah. Okay.
With children.
Yeah.
I believe in Florida, because it's always got to be Florida, right?
Yeah.
They went to a party. They had their kids with them, like out in the car, I guess, or something like that. I don't know all the details. I might have this a little weird, but so they're like out partying till like 2 a.m, and they like come home. The fucking mom takes the 2 older kids upstairs, tells her husband or whatever to take the baby in. They stopped and got like groceries or something before that. So he's like bringing in groceries first. And then I guess he noticed that the door where on the side where the baby was open when he was taking the groceries in. And then when he went back out, it was closed. So he assumed that his wife went out and got the baby. Well, she's upstairs sleeping. He goes upstairs, goes to sleep.
So he just doesn't get the baby. He's told to get the baby and just doesn't get the baby.
He's told to get the baby and doesn't get the baby. So like 10 or like 11 o'clock in the morning.
Which, I mean,
out.
Within 3 or 4 hours, you should know that something's wrong because your baby should be crying.
Yeah.
I've had a baby.
Yeah.
Babies cry every 3 or 4 hours.
18 months.
Yeah, that thing needs constant care.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he like goes out to like get ready for work or something, to like leave for work, I think. At like 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning, goes out there. Wait, no, he gets up and he's like, see, I just heard this story earlier, so I'm getting it all fucked up.
Yeah, it's okay.
He got up and he asked his 8-year-old son where the baby was.
Yeah.
And the kid looks around a little bit. I don't know. Like you would expect a fucking 8-year-old.
Yeah. Hey, where's the kid? Where's
the kid I'm responsible for?
Where's the kid that's incapable of moving or speaking?
So he goes like looking all around the house for this baby.
Where did it get to? Where did the thing that can't even crawl because it's 18 months old get to?
He finally goes out to the car, finds the baby, start like screaming for his wife. I guess she has like some kind of medical training or whatever. She immediately knows the baby's dead.
Yeah, she's like, that baby is like,
it's
cooked.
fucking, it's dead. Yeah, it was like 106 degrees outside or some shit. Yeah. They rushed the baby to the hospital. Fucking hospital staff hopelessly try to save it, knowing that it's not going to work.
Don't even involve them. Just call it.
Yeah,
call the morgue.
Yeah. So they're needless to say, they're getting charged with murder, or like they're on like trial or whatever right now.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It sounds like they got drunk. Sounds like they got drunk the night before.
Well, there was a toxicology report. They both were drunk and smoking weed. The cop that did the fucking
was he trying to
press conference put a lot of emphasis on the weed, which pissed me off.
He was just like, their blood alcohol level was 3.0%. And they were smoking weed.
Well, he just put a lot of emphasis on like, this is a drug people want legalized. And here, obviously it's violent. People say it's not violent. Here it is, killing babies.
What the fuck?
Yeah, that shit pissed
Where's the
me the
video
fuck
of that? Where's the video?
Right, yeah, I should have.
You have access to it on your phone. Get it on the thing on your phone, and then we'll copy and paste it.
Yeah, I should have done that. I didn't think to save that. But yeah, that shit pissed me off. But
yeah, that's... we'll talk about it until you get the video. But yeah, that's completely fucking fucked up.
But yeah, the whole situation is fucked up. It obviously... Well, and the dude was smoking meth, I guess. Well, he had meth in his system. I don't know if he was smoking.
Well, only someone who is fucking on a little bit more than alcohol is going to imagine doors being open when they're not open. And
he probably fucking closed it himself.
Yeah.
Like, he probably walked around, closed the door on the baby, and then came back out and was like, oh, the door's closed. She went and got the baby.
And the wife wasn't on meth?
I guess it wasn't in her system. They didn't. Oh, the cop that did the press conference didn't mention it being in her system. He mentioned it being in the husband's system. But he put a lot of emphasis on marijuana being in their system. Didn't even put any emphasis on the meth, really. He mentioned
That's
it once,
insane.
and then rant like the whole last part of the press conference is him ranting about weed.
What the
Like
fuck?
it's ridiculous. But
Yeah, my best guess is they just like it's if the wife doesn't have anything in her system, then I'm not exactly sure, but it sounds like they got drunk and that made them fall out. Like they had been up for maybe a day beforehand.
well, yeah, she went upstairs and passed out.
Yeah. And it seems like he also did the same while also hallucinating, which is very much something you would do on your second, third day of being like on meth.
Yeah.
But if you were drunk and that helped you fall asleep, then you could easily fall asleep overnight. I don't think they murder. I think that's manslaughter. I don't think that's
Well, yeah,
intentional.
that's what I meant. Manslaughter.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't murder. So,
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with me
watch the
today.
whole thing.
You know, there's
Obviously.
many different kinds of press conferences that we do from this podium. But the one that I'm going to talk about today is one of the most horrible, tragic deaths that we've seen in a very
It
long
totally
time.
seems like the fucking weed is.
And it was all
the
because
devil's
of
drug kind of
negligence.
guy.
And
We're at 28 seconds.
drug use. Did you hear what
For
I
1
said?
minute.
Drug use. Did you hear what I said?
Once again, I want to make it perfectly
I want to make it
clear
perfectly
there are
clear.
those that still think drugs are low level and nonviolent. I suggest
He like
to
kicks
you
it off
today
with anti-weed
that
shit.
when you hear what I have to tell you, you'll think anything other than that because
It's just
certainly
wild
they
because, like,
created
there's-
the atmosphere for
It's
what
obviously
occurred.
not because they were high on weed.
And it all
Yeah.
started
It's because
with
they
a
were
party
fucking
on
stupid,
July the
neglectful
4th.
parents.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Like,
And
come
here's what
on.
happened. Joel Rondon and his wife Jasmine went to a party. They were accompanied at that party
And this
by
sheriff
many
is
friends,
really
and there
fucking
were
tipping the
children
scale
there
in this
as
case.
well.
I don't think it's a fair
They
trial
took a
to fucking
6-year-old, 8-year-old,
do this.
and an 18
to do a press conference
baby to the party.
where you talk about a
And
single
the party
kid
went on through
that
the
was
evening
killed
of July the 4th.
by neglectful parents.
And about
you
2
know,
o'clock
seems like it's
in the
very
morning
much
on July
going
the
to
5th,
affect
in the
the
middle
court
of the night,
case.
they left
Yeah,
this
because this
party
isn't a
in downtown
murder
Lakeland
investigation.
at some people's home.
This isn't a serial
He
killer
returned to
on the
their
loose that he
house
needs to warn the public
in North
about.
Lakeland.
That's what you do these press
When
conferences
they arrived
for.
at
Yeah.
the house,
No, he's just doing
Jasmine
this to criticize these parents
took
and
the
to criticize
6-year-old
drugs
and the
and weed.
8-year-old
Yeah,
into
it's
the
obvious
house,
to me. It seems like
set
his
up
motivation
them
is
something to eat
weed.
and put them to bed.
But that's why it pisses me off.
Jasmine
Like
told
by the end, it
Joel
becomes very
bring
clear
the
to me that
baby
that's
into
what
the
he
house.
doesn't even care about the fucking baby. He just sees
Joel
that they
then
were high on weed, and he's like, perfect
taking some
opportunity.
food stuff, some trays
Weed
of
kills
food into the
babies.
house.
I told you.
Jasmine went in to feed a 6 and an 8-year-old child, and she put them to bed, and subsequently she went to bed.
And he's just like telling the story. I'll skip.
Joel, when he was taking the food trays into the house, noticed still strapped
We're
in
at
the child
3:37.
carrier in the car with a heat index 105 degrees on that day.
Jesus.
He grabbed the child carrier and the infant from the car, runs inside screaming for Jasmine. Jasmine, who it's reported has some medical training, looks at the baby and says, I know the baby is deceased, is dead. Despite that, they grabbed the baby out of the car seat. They rushed to Lakeland Regional Medical Center. And upon arrival there, even though it's painfully evident that this child has suffered a torturous death, a absolute torturous death, Lakeland Regional still worked on the baby to try to save its life. But it, in fact, was deceased.
If only we had like
What's
a cool like
interesting about
machine that
this
brought dead babies back to life.
Is that the investigation begins, as
Yeah,
you
it might
can
sound a little
imagine
weird
that
to you
it
since you can hear
should.
what we're listening to.
And here's what we discovered.
I mean, she heard me telling the story.
Jasmine,
Basically
and Joel
that, but
were
like a
given
gun that
a
could turn that
test
baby back to life.
17 hours after
Basically,
arriving
these
home.
stupid
17
neglectful-
hours.
17 hours after arriving home from the
17
party.
hours.
Jasmine tests positive for alcohol and marijuana.
He's talking about how
Joel tests positive for
long after the
alcohol,
incident
marijuana, and
they were tested
methamphetamine.
or whatever.
17 hours
Yeah.
later.
17 hours later. This
So
was
you
in
can
the
imagine
system,
what
that's
kind of shape that they were in when they arrived from this party and left this child harnessed in the baby seat in the back of the car. This child's 18 months old. She's not old enough to let herself out of the harness, but she's certainly old enough to realize that she is suffering a torturous death at the negligence of Joel and Jasmine. The
I mean, it's probably
investigation
good to do
goes
this
on.
for the idiots that
We
like
determined that Joel has
might
a
be
criminal
tempted
history.
to do something like this.
He was arrested.
But also,
2
this is
times
like
at
a-
15 and 18
But
years
the purpose of
age.
his press conference,
This just don't
Wait,
do
he's
drugs.
Event.
he's basically saying
At that
drugs are
time in
actually
his
bad,
life,
and
he was
here's the proof. And I
documented
told
as
you
a
guys,
gang
I told you so. That's
Yeah.
basically his whole point.
Which is very fucked up to do here. Obviously, the problem here is that these people were
methamphetamine and
neglectful,
concealed firearm.
and
Those charges are pending
that
at this
people
time.
really need to be careful
He also
in
has a
these hot
history of
temperatures.
resisting arrest.
Like, you can't leave a kid out in this time of the year.
And
You know, you have to be
now,
extra
I
careful.
Watch your
this
fucking
afternoon
baby.
Yeah,
are
triple
adding the
check.
criminal
Like, who
charge
cares?
of
Triple,
aggravated
quadruple check.
You
manslaughter
thought
of a
she
child,
went out and got
which
your
is a
baby.
first
You
degree.
check
you,
anyway.
you double check, yeah.
You don't just.
And you double check before you go to
Okay,
sleep.
well, shit.
Like,
Even
how
if
do you
you're
double check
gacked out and
like,
high on a
check
fucking
his
bottle.
Probably criminal
Yeah.
history.
Like
Yeah.
you make sure you're locked
But
your
she
doors
does
at
now.
night,
Most
you
people
know?
lock
She's
their
been
door,
charged
their
with
car door, like
aggravated
several times.
manslaughter
Yeah.
You know,
Just to make
that's
sure.
like something
And
everybody
they check
does.
the handle.
Now, interestingly
Make
enough,
sure it's not open.
when the investigation began,
Oh,
by our
did I hit
detectives.
this just now? Did you guys?
after
just
the hospital tried life-saving maneuvers, which includes cooling the baby down,
So sad.
when we started our investigation at like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, after the life-saving measures, after the body being cooled down, the baby still had a core temperature of 104.4
Jesus
degrees.
Christ.
Yeah.
And this was like 3 hours after
That
the
means that baby
was
was
taken
fucking
out of the
cooked.
hot car.
Like,
Yeah.
it was probably very
3
fucked up
hours
to
after
see.
the baby
Oh my
was
god.
taken out of
They
the
didn't do
hot
that on
car.
purpose, though.
And
'Cause
the
nobody would
hospital
do that
tried to
shit on
cool the baby
purpose.
down.
Oh,
A fucking psycho would,
Yeah,
but they're
right.
obviously not. They're drug addicts, you know.
This
Yeah.
rips your heart.
Whether
They're
that
just
drugs,
neglectful.
alcohol,
they're
or
obviously not evil
There's no
baby
other way to
killers,
explain
but
it.
it doesn't really
We
matter
all
to the baby, does it?
Have or had
You know,
No.
children.
the
or
baby doesn't care
grandchildren,
what your
No.
intentions. are.
Both,
the baby had a
obviously.
very viciously terrible
The
death.
baby- you
Nieces or
basically threw the
nephews
baby in the
that have been
fucking
18
oven.
months old, and we know
You know what
how
I mean?
vibrant
Like-
they are.
Slow
how
cooker, but
active
yeah.
they
Yeah,
are.
okay, yeah, maybe a
But
bit
how
of an
fragile
exaggeration,
they
but
are.
you know what I'm saying. Like,
And this child, from 3 o'clock in the morning until she was discovered, was harnessed and could not get away from this. The investigation's ongoing. The child otherwise was.
the baby was in the
Jesus
car from like
Christ.
3 o'clock in the morning
was
till like
not
11
deprived of
o'clock.
food. The other children are not deprived of food. This is not an accident. This is pure negligence.
I like that he
Not
pointed
suggest
that
to you
out
the
at least.
core of the
Like that they weren't
negligence is
starving
the
their
abuse
kids.
of
Like
Yeah.
they, you know,
and the use of drugs. And who suffered? Who died? The 18-month.
Oh, there he goes.
and this
So
is
don't
where it starts.
ever tell me that these drugs are low level
904.
and nonviolent, because they're at the core of why this child is dead today. Are there any questions?
Oh my god.
They're at the core of why this child is dead. That's what he just said. It's drugs that did it.
Well,
No mention of
They-
the alcohol.
they
No mention of the alcohol or the
What was
fucking
the-
meth.
Charles,
What was their
Like,
blood
he just-
alcohol levels?
and the
Were they
investigation
fucking?
goes
They
on
drove
at
a
this
car
time.
home. What was their blood alcohol levels?
But I think the real
Probably not that
remorse will
high.
be tonight when they're sitting in the county
I don't think it
jail
was because they were drunk either.
in an
I think they were just
air-conditioned
neglectful.
environment
You know?
well, obviously, it was an
by
accident. 'Cause
themselves.
that
And
shit.
it's nice and cool here when my baby,
Even if like your highest, you're not
because
like.
of my negligence and my use of
No,
drugs.
it's hard to. I
And
would believe that they
they are-
both fell asleep on
they will
accident.
and
He
have
was
to be
genuinely
held
mistaken, but he
accountable
was
for
up too
such
long and just
horrible
hallucinated
conduct.
that like the door was open and shit.
I would think I think he probably closed it himself and didn't realize or something.
Yeah.
People do that kind of shit all the time.
Well, especially when he's high. Like,
yeah, exactly.
probably did it without realizing it. But yeah,
But this guy's trying to make it seem like they were just
Certainly
high out of their
overnight
minds
temperatures
and
were in the
On
70s,
weed.
high
Yeah.
70s.
they were just so fucking
And
stoned that they
by
couldn't.
sunrise
He actually
and a
says
little
like stoned out of their
afternoon
minds
into
at
the
some point
80s,
or
and
something
then
like
it
that.
jumps up into the 85 and 90 by 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. The heat index we estimate to be at 105, so it was probably
there you go.
94, 95 degrees. The car was outside, not in a garage, not under a tree, not under any shade at all. And obviously, we will try to recreate with the same temperatures the heat of the car. Research shows us that the temperature of the car could
mean,
have been
it would-
anywhere between
not for that long. In the
100
No, not for that
130
long, but it would
170
matter
degrees
with like how horrible the
at that
fucking
time.
feeling of being in that car
Yeah.
would be.
Been only talking about this record heat right now. Can you just talk about how dangerous it is and just a warning for other parents right now to make sure that this doesn't happen again in our community?
Well, absolutely. There has been record heat here. In fact, something that I don't normally do, I sent out all mails to my deputies who
Seeing
wear
someone suggesting, "Hey,
vests,
don't make
bulletproof
this about
vests
drugs.
to
Make
say,
it
hey,
about the heat."
You have to
idiot."
start hydrated and you have to stay hydrated all day long. When it's 95, 96 degrees, the heat index is 105, 106, as we know that you all have reported. It is brutally hot for everyone under the best of circumstances. And then this child is shut in the car, obviously with no movement of air, with it becoming hotter and hotter and hotter as the morning went on. And you just can't, I mean, there aren't words to explain this. And Jasmine's still in bed asleep. She still in bed asleep. Has no idea that her baby
See, he
is
doesn't
in the
understand
shape
how
it's
drugs
in.
work. Alcohol. If you pass out on
The
too
other
much
children are with
alcohol,
other relatives.
you fucking
DCF
sleep for
obviously
so
has
long.
been notified and is doing a parallel
And sleep through
investigation.
it.
Well, clearly that the new cars even have devices that tells you check the back seat. If you don't have such a device, then you need to create your own device in the front seat. And it starts with the not being stoned on drugs.
Oh my God.
You don't think clearly when you're stoned on
When you're
drugs.
stoned on
They
drugs.
had been drinking and using marijuana, I'm sure, throughout the evening. He had meth in his system. I mean, that's just a train wreck. But that's
He
a
mentions meth a
disaster
couple times,
waiting
but he's
to
obviously
happen.
putting the emphasis on
And
the
here's
weed.
Yeah,
one
the
more
emphasis is
person
more on the
who's
weed
dead,
and the drugs
a
than it
baby,
is
a
the
baby who
heat,
can't
the
help
responsibility,
because of the abuse of
the
drugs, which
alcohol.
obviously
The alcohol is a big part of this.
created
He's like, yeah, he acts like all,
the
I mean, obviously he believes alcohol is a lesser drug, and weed is
evening.
on the same
after
level as
a
meth.
long
Well,
party.
it seems like he thinks weed is worse than meth.
Yeah, he said low-level drugs.
Well, it has.
So at the very least, he's
it
putting
has
them on
been
the
a-
same level.
A terrible week. You know, the most precious
Get
things
back,
we
just
have in
click
our
it.
life are our children. And you think about it, children have no decision-making process to decide who they're born to, where they live, what they're fed, how
These
they're clothed,
reporters
how they're taken
keep
care of.
begging
They're
him
totally 100%
to mention the
dependent
heat.
upon their family.
Yeah.
They're just like, but it's been a really
Or the
bad
person in charge.
week with the heat,
100%.
right? And he's like, it's
To me,
been a
that
really
makes them
bad week
that
because
much more
people are
precious
dying
because their
from
entire life
drugs.
is possible.
Because do you
because
think
of us
Floridians
caring for the children
are
appropriately. Well, when you mix
generally
alcohol
anti-weed?
and methamphetamine
You know what I mean? Like,
and
no, probably not.
No, he's a dick.
your faculties to think appropriately are significantly damaged. And that mixture of alcohol and that failure to communicate and make sure that I mean, they got the food in the house.
he thinks
They
it's
didn't
like
get the baby.
mixing alcohol with pills. That's the way you just described it.
And also,
whether it was legally drunk or was
What they call this is first is a quick
Yeah.
check. And it's
You should be
this was
emphasizing people
17
having
hours
strategies
after.
to communicate.
Now, we preserved
because this was
also
all due to
blood
an
that was
earnest
sent to the lab
mistake between two
and do
people
some
who
more
were
forensic
stoned out of
work
their
on it.
minds. You know,
It just
if this dumb fucking mistake didn't happen, the baby
You know,
would
it
have been
just
in the house to
really
cry for
upsets
another
me
kid to save it.
that
You
this
know?
child
For another
should
kid
have
to
grown
give it
and
some fucking
flourished
food or
and
whatever they do.
a productive teenager.
Yeah.
Because what I'm assuming
adult and
is these parents probably
should have the
rely
opportunity
on
to
the kids to take care of the baby, and so they fell asleep that long, assuming, oh,
Well, I think the 8-year-old's the oldest one.
Yeah.
No,
well,
you won't
so
be
the
able
8-year-old
to,
probably
but the
knows how to
fact
mix
that-
formula.
that it is
Maybe,
actively
well.
in their system.
And they were
and
probably
they
thinking,
admitted
oh,
to
we could
us,
sleep
by
in
the way,
because the
that
other kids
they
know how to feed the
drank
other kid.
alcohol and smoked
And then
marijuana.
fucking boom, wake up and it's like, oh
You know
no,
that
I
drug
forgot
that
half
people wanna
last night and the
legalize?
kid's dead.
'Cause it's not bad
Yeah.
after all. I think we've shown where the abuse of alcohol and marijuana, and add in meth for Joel, is dangerous. It's deadly. It didn't have to be this way.
1740.
Anything else? Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Jesus Christ, that's his last words?
That's how he ends it. That's what, like I said, I was not exaggerating. That was his entire point of this entire press conference. Weed is bad. Weed kills babies. Not neglectful parents. Weed. Like,
Damn.
fuck
He
you,
went fucking
dude.
hard in the paint. It was like, fuck this.
And nobody in the
Widely
comments pointed that
popular
out.
thing.
That pissed me off too. Everybody in the comments is
It was like,
praising
poor
him,
baby.
and like,
Yeah.
I'm just like, can somebody call him out on his bullshit, please?
Yeah, that's really sad.
Yeah, because he's using. I'm not. It's not that I don't care about the baby. You know what I mean? It's he doesn't care about the baby.
Yeah, obviously you should be
Like-
responsible here, but like, there's a lot to unpack with this.
Yeah, like
there's a lot to unpack here.
the situation with the baby is horrible, and he's taking this tragedy
And
and
it's just,
spinning it to make these parents' mistake look like something that weed does to people.
yeah,
Like,
instead of like sort of a mechanical thing that sort of happened because they didn't have safeguards, you know, like
well, they were both they weren't paying too much attention, and there was a miscommunication. That's really what it boiled down to. And it's I'm not trying to downplay their
I mean, the shit, like, it's not even downplaying it. The shit happens to parents all the time. People accidentally kill their kids because they're distracted
I've seen
and they're sober for it, you know?
I've seen and heard of situations where somebody's kid could have died,
Yeah.
and if they didn't, so nobody's looking at that parent as a piece of shit. But if
Yeah,
they
exactly.
did,
Exactly.
suddenly that parent would be a piece of shit. So, you know, what I mean?
Yeah.
Like shit does happen. I'm not saying that this was not their fault, because it was.
Yeah.
It absolutely was, and they should be charged for this. But it's not.
But
what
I mean,
this guy's trying to make it
also,
out to be.
like, I think about it, I'm like, what's worse of a punishment than watching your own kid, like, cooked alive out of
It's
your
true.
car due to the, like, the consequences of your actions, you know? Like, these people are probably fucked for life. The trauma that would follow seeing something like that, they're probably fucking so disassociated at this point.
Yeah.
Fucking,
And I agree with
like-
that, but just as like a justice standpoint,
Yeah.
you can't just not do anything.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
like,
Obviously.
you know what I mean?
But I think those two people definitely need like fucking, like some type of, I mean, obviously some type of counseling.
I don't think they
doesn't
should be thrown in the
exist.
same place as actual child murderers.
Yeah,
I think there should be a place for people like that you put them away and you see. I think okay, this is what
well,
I
because
think.
if it is drugs, heal that, fix that then.
Yeah.
You know, at the very least, if that's the problem, if the problem isn't that they're bad criminals, don't throw them in jail and punish them. Fix their drug problem, right?
Well, I think the idea is
To punish
to
them,
punish
so
them
they
for
don't
the
do
what
drugs.
the we're trying to get justice for the baby that died.
Yeah.
I think that's what most people are thinking about, and I agree with that. But I think, like, the way we treat people who, like, I don't know, like, I don't know how to put this. Like, the way we treat people who, like, are innocent, like, you know, like, I don't know how to put this. Like, the way we treat people who, like, are innocent, like, you know, like, I don't know how to put this. Like, the way we treat people who, like, are innocent, like, you know, like, I don't know how to put this. Like, the way we treat people who, like, are innocent, like, you know, like, I don't know how to put this. Like, the way we treat people who, like, are innocent, like, you know, like, I don't know how to put this. Like, the way we treat people who, like, are innocent, like, you know, like, I don't know how to put this. Like, the way we treat people who, like, are innocent, like, you know, like, I don't know how to put this. Like, the way we treat people who, like, are innocent, like, you know, like, I don't know how to put this. Like, the way we treat people who, like, are innocent, like, you know, like, I don't know how to put this. Like, the way we treat people who, like, are innocent, like, you know, like, I don't know how to put this. Like, the like Jeffrey Dahmer, for example, you know, just the absolutely worst, despicable human beings.
Yeah.
You know, most people would argue that we should just fucking kill them. You know, I think most people say that. Like, most people are like, why are we paying our tax money to keep them alive?
I really do think most people believe that, and a lot of the time the leftist split is that, like, the leftists believe that a government can't do that.
Yeah, and I have mixed feelings on that too.
Yeah.
But I think
because there are always going to be people who are wrongfully prosecuted in a law system, and if you have death penalty, they're going to be wrongfully killed.
Yeah, and that sucks. You don't want to kill somebody.
But like in a system where you were like, yeah, Jeffrey Dahmer, he passes the bar because we proved that he's like,
yeah, I think with people like him.
But then the government would obviously use the approval for that to kill people who they fabricate some things against.
But what I was getting at is, like, you know, people complain about keeping people like that alive. I think prison should be more for people like this, people who actually made a mistake and need what word am I looking for? Rehabilitation.
Yeah.
Yeah.